Hello, and welcome to OnSurviving. My name is Megan, and I'm a survivor.
And my name is Nobly, and I am a survivor.
Together, we're bringing OnSurviving to the world because it matters.
It matters to me because alongside the potent fears of our frail hearts is so much hurt, loss, and trust issues that I often had to navigate through all alone with very little resources and zero trust. I am passionate about doing this project because I get to tell my story and be that trusting person to help with the resources that I didn't have and hopefully make a difference in people's process of surviving.
It matters to me because I want others to recognize the deep strength and rich humanity involved in every step in the process of surviving the tragedies life brings many of us. I suffered silently and alone for too long, and I want to help others to find hope more quickly and readily and feel and be less alone in the process of surviving.
OnSurviving matters. You matter. We matter.
All right. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Today's episode, so excited to be here. We have another story episode today. So we get to bear witness to and learn from the life journey of Walterlee Otterman Hawkins-Long, an activist, artist, and artisan living in Denver, Colorado. So I had the privilege of meeting Walter a few years ago when we were doing outreach in a neighborhood in Denver about an incoming Native American inclusive safe outdoor space for people who were living without safe shelter. I was really inspired by him right away. And I look forward to learning more about his path. Nobly and I both do. So we will be listening right along with all of the other listeners and viewers there. And then, of course, we'll be talking with him along the way about what's been helpful for him and about what changes could have actually made a difference for the better for him at different points along the way. So that said, of course, we speak frankly here. And so we also recognize that sometimes when we are doing that, that stuff could come up to really trigger things for those of you that are listening or watching. And we just want to make sure that if that happens, that you take care of yourself. Whether that means shutting this all down or just walking away for a minute, maybe even going and reaching out to somebody for support if needed. And of course, if at any point in time you feel at kind of a crisis state, then we really encourage you to reach out to, of course, to any personal supports you may have. But also, you don't have to just rely on that. If you want to talk to somebody that doesn't know you, talk to a stranger. Sometimes that's even easier to do in times of crisis. So love to encourage you to, from anywhere in the United States at any time, 24/7, you can call or text 988. That is a national crisis, a mental health crisis line. There are trained volunteers there and staff there to help to support you and help you get whatever resources you may need. I'm also going to just really briefly share my screen so that you can see, for those of you who are watching, you can see some other resources that are available, other crisis lines, also national U.S. crisis lines. The Trevor Project offers an LGBTQ crisis hotline. Just call 866-488-7386. There's the Trans Lifeline at 877-565-8860. There's another just text only crisis text line. You can text hello to 741-741. Or veterans, you may want to talk to somebody who knows what you're going through. And there's a crisis line here for veterans, specifically at 800-273-8255, and you just press 1. So that said, we do hope everyone will settle in, take care, and enjoy the story with us.
I would like to welcome our guest, Walterlee Otterman Hawkins-Long. Would you like to turn on your camera and your microphone?
I can turn on my microphone, but no camera. Hey, kidding.
How
are you folks doing today?
Oh, excellent. Welcome.
Hi, I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So I know we're going to get into a lot of details of your story, and we're really looking forward to listening and learning with you. But we also already mentioned that you are an activist, an artist, and an artisan. Can you just tell us a little bit more, like what that is, what kind of art and craft work you're doing, what kind of activism? That'd be great.
Absolutely, that'd be great. Once again, my name is Walterlee Otterman Hawkins. I was born here in Denver, in '73, and I do what I basically do is I do beadwork, custom jewelry, stuff like this. You know, so I make jewelry, sell it on the side, make a little extra money in my pocket. As far as activism, that would begin back in the late '90s. I had been to my first powwow, and then there was a rally for Columbus Day at the state capitol, and I so happened to come across said rally and saw a group of natives standing on top of the step, and they were singing the AIM song. I said to myself at that very moment, I said, you know what, self, one day we're going to be up there doing it. Because when I was adopted, I was completely stripped of all that, taking sense. So that's how my activism began long ago.
That was that picture. That picture you sent me was from that event. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, really appreciate what you do. And thanks for sharing your beadwork with us too. If you want to take any more like pictures of them and send them our way, we'd be happy to share those with folks. And yeah, just love to show off the, art I see as the work of the soul. And it's yeah, wonderful. Love to share.
Are you ready to share your story, Walter?
Yeah. Yes.
And is it okay if we maybe interrupt a little bit to have questions and reflections along the way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Well, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you once again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Where to start? Let's start off with where I'm at today. Today life is good. I have a few roadblocks that are ahead of me, but a little help and perseverance from friends, I know that I'll make it through it. The way I see life, and one of the things I've come to understand is that there are certain traits that the Creator will bestow upon each and every one of us. Wisdom, courage, strength, generosity, love. But the greatest of these, I believe, is humility. Humility is one of the greatest forms of personality or anybody can try to obtain, strive for. That's just how I see it. I was born here in Denver, Colorado in '73. December 16th. I was born at Denver General, GG, Denver Health, as they call it now. I was born. My mother, she drank, she drank with me while she was pregnant. So as a result of that, I was born with mildly set fetal alcoholic syndrome, FAS. I had a lot of medical complications when I was younger, particularly right after I was born. By the time I was 5 months old, I was a ward of the state because the state had taken custody from my parents, both my older brother, and my older sister, and myself. So we were put in the foster care system like that. We were separated. My brother and sister, they were sent to one foster home, and I was sent to another one. Some of this may get a little difficult for me, so I apologize. Foster home life was it was good. There are a few memories of other foster children in the household. The age of 5, I was finally adopted by my adopted parents. They were the only parents, the only family that I knew. I mean, I knew I had my biological mother and my biological father. They didn't raise me; they weren't there. Adopted parents that I knew and I grew up to care for and love. So that's how I saw them as my parents. So the
Hey, Walter, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't hear that last part.
that is how the adoption proceedings continued to go. My adopted parents actually had to have a custody battle with the Rosebud Sioux tribe in order to adopt. Fortunately, none of my family stepped forward at the time. They couldn't, or they were unable to help out at that time, particularly with 3 kids, me, my brother, and my sister, keep us together like that. So we were adopted off into different families. I was raised on the southeast side of Denver. Adopted at the age of 5 by my adopted parents. I grew up feeling out of place. Because I'm a black native kid, brown skin, living in a white neighborhood. So of course I felt unsafe. One time in particular, I'm walking with my adopted parents, and we're at Buckingham Mall, there in Aurora. I'm holding both of their hands, happy as could be. Good day, we're at the mall. A few yards away from us, I see a family walking towards us. Mom, a dad, and the little boy. They're all black. Walk past us. Look back at the little boy, and he looks up at his mother, and I heard him clear as day. So, Mommy, what's that black boy with those white people? And when I heard him say that, we quick let go of their hands and walk ahead. felt ashamed, alone, and confused. So I hadn't made that connection yet. And anything was different about my family because I was raised with love. My little boy pointed it out to me, even though it was something I'd already seen. Kind of like someone throwing cold water on you in the shower, It's a shock.
And how do you have any sense of how old you were at that point, Walter? Was that right away?
It would have been right around the time of my adoption.
Okay. So right around 5? Okay.
A lot of nights growing up, I would cry myself to sleep. Cry out to mom. Her parents there. So it made things kind of tough growing up. Even though I had, this unconditional love, and support of my adopted parents, it's I don't know how to explain it if you haven't gone through it. I want to say I was ungrateful. Yes, in some instances in my life, towards my adopted parents, I have been. That's the best way I can describe it, is feeling out of place. Yeah, felt out of place a lot of the time when I was growing up.
I'm curious, that sense of feeling out of place, Walter, was that something you felt all the time? Like even at home? A lot of people will talk about, feeling out of place in various circumstances, but it sounds like you're talking about something that's pretty all consuming. Am I hearing that?
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said earlier, I had been stripped away from my family, kidnapped in a sense, by the government. That's how I see it now, that I was kidnapped. Anytime you separate a child from its parents like that, there's something going to go wrong. That child's not. I can only speak about for myself. Something went wrong with me. Sure, being born with fetal alcoholic syndrome didn't help. I've gone through a lot, and I feel that I've overcome a lot of my challenges. I still have struggles that I battle with. On sobriety. I have slips. I have falls every night.
Say that last part again. You slipped. Say that last part again.
I'm in recovery. I'm sober. And I've had my slips and I have my falls every once in a while.
Sure.
I have to get back up, and brush myself off. Because you got little ones looking up to me, looking out. You got to look out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm getting off track. So let me do growing up, I really wasn't that good in academics at school. I really didn't excel, academically until I had this one teacher. She told me, she said that you don't learn like everybody else. She said, you learn with your hands, by seeing and doing. So she showed me a couple different methods as to, how to do my schoolwork, and everything turned around. Everything went okay for a while. Adoptive parents gave birth to a little sister. My little sister. So I found myself just in awe of this little person, this little baby. That's the way it went for a while. I raised my sister. Maybe a year or two later, my other sister was born. My adopted parents. I found myself a lot of the time looking out for both my little sisters, raising them themselves. Later on, I kind of came to feel like Butler, you know. I guess that's how I felt. I felt like a butler. I run around picking up my sisters and everybody else in the house.
I mean, like you had like that was an expected job of yours.
Well, yeah, it was, but it's not for me to be able to be doing the work and then not seeing other people, particularly my parents, pick up after themselves to do the same things that I would. It became, tiring, taxing. Even way back then, I started noticing myself like, I guess you could say, falling into a depression, sinking into a depression. Fortunately, the way that I started dealing with that was being abusive to animals. I mean, back in them days, I didn't really know how to go for this warning sign and look at that warning sign, and this may be going on with the child. Those kind of things weren't really around when I was younger. So acts of sexual misconduct, were swept under the rug, not really paid attention. So these are just some of the things that I've experienced in my journey. Without saying too much.
Can you say you mentioned warning signs? Can you talk more about what that was and around when that showed up for you?
It would have been probably about going into my double digits, 9 going into 10. Because I was being messed with in ways I shouldn't have been. Like I said, I started taking it out on my pets, on animals in the neighborhood. So when I stand, when my when my when my adopted parents finally I finally did something to get myself caught. They asked me, well, "What's wrong with you? How did you do that?" I was mad at juice. Slam the dog's tail on the door. Get back. I put blood on the dog. Having to tail and look back, I had a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. But, revert back to saying, that I felt alone, out of place. In some ways, I feel that that's a lot of what's going on with society today.
Mm.
If we all feel that way. We feel lost from time to time. Unsure of where life is taken, where the world itself as a whole. It was right around that time when I was in my third visit, I discovered alcohol.
In your like in those early double digits or teenage
Yeah.
year, early double digits? Yeah.
When I discovered alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
first thing I ever drank was grape Mad Dog 2020. It was warm. It wasn't even cold.
Oof. Oof. I'll tell you about my drink, my first drink later. It was fun too. Not, in quotes, said sarcastically. Mad dog. All right.
So that's how that roller coaster started. It started young.
Yeah.
Because that was already in my system. I'd already been drunk before. I didn't really recall it, remember it, just like that. Oh,
Mm. Right. You were feeling depressed, out of place, out of sorts, and and you were bored with that. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm.
Found myself. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you get to see any of your family during all this time?
I'll see here. When I was being adopted through the proceedings, I had a few home visits with my mother. At the time, she actually had a cast on. This is a picture of my mother right here. One moment. Her name is Marion. Uh-oh. You still with me? Okay, there we
You
go.
got it. We're here.
Okay, sorry about that.
Is that her on the left there? Or my left, I guess.
Right here.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's actually how I remember her, because when the visitation, it's one thing that stuck out in my mind, was so fun. So when I saw that picture, the memories and thoughts of my mother are more like a dream than anything that takes place and happens. So they're real foggy and really distant. When I saw that picture with my past, I knew it wasn't a big situation. So it's almost where that's where things go after you don't. That's where things go after.
That's where things go after.
That's where things go. To a distant part of your mind where you don't really think about it anymore. The memories of my mother were more like that. I wasn't sure if they were real or if they weren't. It wasn't until I saw that picture that I realized, yeah, that did happen. I did go for that visitation with my mother, my brother, and my sister, my parents' house.
Mm.
It was always my mom, never my dad, though. My biological father, who was never there. Not until I got older, and he came into my life.
How much older?
It would have been when I first got out of prison in 94, 1994.
Mm.
So I'm in high school and finished up grade school, middle school, high school now. Find a girlfriend, and first time I ever really had a girlfriend. I was over her place one afternoon at school and called home, like I usually do. Nobody answered. So I better go home. So my sister went home, and neighbor came across the street and said, "Walter, your parents are in hospital." Oh, hell. Well, my adopted father, he bought a motorcycle a few months prior to that. We jump on a motorcycle and go out and go for motorcycle rides. They were no more than 4 blocks away from the house. Somebody sideswiped, bam, hit them both on the motorcycle. In the hospital for a while. And when it was all said and done, I was taking care of my parents. I'm on the walking out of high school, take care of them and put them on. And I never went back. Out of finding work and getting a job. I guess looking back on it now, in some ways, I feel like I wasn't allowed to grow up. I was off with a lot of adult things.
Well, before any human being should be expected to deal with such big things.
There are in other countries, other countries, children do much more. I guess this just really has to do with culture and where you live.
Will you say more about that?
Well, I take a look at my cat right here, for instance. Okay? She's about maybe 3-4 weeks, if that. Okay. After what, maybe 2 weeks, they're pretty much self-sufficient. Walk when they're born, Granted, their eyes aren't open, but they catch on really quick. See what I'm going with this? But us humans, us two-legged, man, we got to be taken care of for how long? 18 years? So.
I see where you're going with it. Yeah. I actually saw this really interesting show about the first 5 years of life, and with all around the globe. And I remember one of the stories they were talking about is when a child gets like close to 5, they will just let the kid go out on their own to, like, it's like there's this challenge or task they're supposed to take. And there's this little kid like crossing the street all by himself, It's amazing. But it's like through my cultural lens, I'm like, oh, and the parents are like, it's the way it goes. People look out for, and it's part of their becoming in that particular story. So anyway, that's what's going through my mind as I hear you talking about that. And it depends on that kind of cultural lens and where you are, where you're born, where you're raised. Yeah.
My little friend, my little stress.
Oh,
Right. This is Joaquin.
Joaquin.
Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
The last cold spell we had, maybe about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. I was in my apartment and heard a cat meowing. Well, that's odd. Why should I be hearing a cat all the way up here?
Mm.
So I stepped out and opened my front door and just heard this kitten just wailing and crying. So I put my coat on, went out to go investigate, and heard it coming from underneath the car. Looked underneath, and she was all the way up in the wheel well, sitting on top of the wheel. Tell that the engine was still a little warm, so
Oh.
I chased her around for a minute because she was feral. She was a part of a wild cat community that's in my apartment.
Uh-huh.
And, for like the first 4 days, all she'd do was hiss at me. All she would do was hiss at me.
Oh,
I think we've crossed that barrier.
oh. That Oh, yeah, I think you definitely have crossed that. And I just want to share too that I also have a kitten. My kitten's about a little bit more than a year older than yours. Also a little black feral kitten. And found right about the same age. I find this these interesting this coincidental parallels between the two of us. The other thing is, did you say your birthday? You were born September 16th, 1973?
December 16th.
December 16th. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh, were we born on the exact same day? But no, December, mine is September, but same year. So, so we've talked about we've heard your story, like in some of the big parts of growing up, from birth through high school. Yeah, a lot of stuff on your shoulders, from your medical issues, being born with fetal alcohol syndrome, to dealing with being basically kidnapped by the government. That's how you see it. And then having to go through adoption by a white family, and the confusion and kind of shock about that, like feeling the confusion about feeling different, and feeling out of place, I think were the words that you used. And then the confusion when that like was really brought to your attention before it had really settled in, because gosh, you were 5. We don't think those are things we as adults put on our children, or that, we're so and then I heard you also talking about kind of struggling with school, that you learned differently. I did hear one piece in there about a teacher who really seemed to see you, and see you learning differently, which really jumped out at me. But I want to come back to that in a minute. But the other things that I heard were things really kind of turning in your kind of adolescence, right? In those kind of early double digit years. And you started drinking, and I'll come to high school, and your adoptive parents were in a bad accident, and you had to care for them, and you dropped out of high school to care for them and got a job. So I kind of did a quick kind of synopsis there. Did I miss critical pieces that you want to make sure that we're pointing to as well? Just in those early years, we'll talk about the next stage in a minute, but
no, just that constant the constant void, that,
right.
that I felt growing up.
Yes. Oh, honey.
I got
That constant void. And you also talked about depression. Yeah, which I suppose can be one and the same, that void and the depression.
Like I was saying, this is before, as I see it, before the medical professionals really started paying attention to childhood and adolescence, mental, physical, or spiritual abuse and what its effects are on a child.
Yeah.
So that's how I grew up, So now that I have those tools and opportunities to work through those, work through those things, had I had those at a younger age, would it have made a difference? I believe it would have.
Okay.
I believe it would have.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Can you think of what would that look like if there was somebody were to come in and, can you imagine what would have been really helpful for you?
I think what would have what would have ultimately been helpful would have been to be in contact with my culture, as far as Native American, as far as my cultural ways, because once I came to an understanding of these local ways and philosophies, my life changed. My life changed for the better. I have to say I still don't have my difficulties, but it's easy. It's easy.
When was that? When did you feel like you really had meaningful connection with your culture?
That had been about 8 years ago. 8 years now. 8 years ago.
Wow. That was a long road to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
So as a child, you didn't get to do any ceremonial stuff like sweats or dances or anything?
I didn't even know what it was. All I knew was that I was Lakota, that I was Sioux. My mother was full blood Sioux, and and my adopted daddy. I don't know if he was joking around or if he was serious about it. You got money, you got land up there somewhere. Now looking back on it, I'm kind of like, shut up. But, yeah, so I think being more in touch with my culture and would have greatly helped with that. Last year, one of my daughters was able to go on a skiing trip up in the Winter Park because of an organization. I believe it's Valley of the Sun, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So it's an organization. They have like a native youth group, young kids, teenagers, and gather up the kids on Sundays, and they jump on a bus and take them up to Winter Park. My daughter really enjoyed it. So, had there been more opportunity like that when I was younger, yeah, I believe it would have made a difference. I may go to take my daughters to dance class. One of them wants to jingle dress, and the other daughter wants to fancy. or tradition. These have something to aspire for, something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's incredible. How old are your daughters?
Oh, they're 5 and 6. They're getting ready to be 6 and 7.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. uh, must have been so cute going up there to ski. That's a little like that. And you said that was with a Native American youth group, like a club, kind of that you went with.
Yeah. He just got with the son. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
It's an organization. They're here in Denver.
nice. Do you know if anything was? I mean, you probably don't know if there was even anything around like that when you were.
Yeah, at my age, back then in the late 80s, early 90s, I don't know. I mean, but it's nothing that I ever sought out as it was presented.
Sure. Sure. So, yeah. Okay. So that's the biggest thing that really stands out to you that would have just, it sounds like that could have been just transformational. Because you wouldn't have felt so
Out of place,
out of place. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And get to know who you are, right? We are not, we are our family, are, the people who've come before us. We're, all of that. And so, yeah, to be so disconnected, I can imagine.
I'm really sad that the ICWA, laws didn't take care of you, because those laws are in place so that Native children can get adopted and fostered by Native children, so that they don't lose their heritage and their culture. And that makes me sad that that wasn't in place for you like it is now.
Yeah.
Do you know when that law went into effect, Nobly? You're on mute.
1969, and that's what surprises me, that for whatever reason that didn't happen for him.
Yeah. That. Yeah, that's perplexing.
My understanding, when we went through the proceedings, the judge, he clearly stated to me, he said, "Now it's up to you. Where do you want to go? You want to stay with these people who raised you, or do you basically stay with them, or go back into the foster care system?" So I believe I made the right choice. It was either go back into the foster care system at 5 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I'm shocked that someone gave such a big decision to a 5-year-old. That's a lot of weight to carry too. Yeah. Is there anything else you can think of that would have been helpful during that time, or do you want to go on and talk about kind of the next, maybe early adulthood?
No, let's go ahead and move on into early adulthood.
Okay.
So at the time I'm 16 going to 17, and at the time I'm on probation for a break-in that I had done with a friend. We broke into a house and decided to drink some beer because it was vacant. We didn't think anything of it, didn't think anybody make a fuss about it. Apparently one of the neighbors thought differently. We showed up and wound up getting a ticket for breaking and entering. That was my first charge. Adolescent. Having to be on probation, yada yada yada. My dad kept that from my mom for a long time. Kept it from her. We both did. Then I missed a probation appointment. They either called the house or they sent a letter to the house. My mom found out about everything me and my dad were keeping. So that was no fun. So during the whole process, I wound up because had to take UAs. I kept dropping hot UAs for alcohol and marijuana. So my probation officer got fed up with it and sent me to an adolescent rehabilitation group home place out in Fort Logan. Fort Logan Cemetery. It was a place called Synergy. So this was like a really intensive drug and rehabilitation program. So I went through there, finished that off, wound up going to on-res. I wasn't in the house, but I stayed in my own place. That's how things went for a while. I had my own apartment. And then my drinking came back to play. Demons resurfaced. So I lost my apartment that way. I started to notice this repetitive cycle in my life. And it all centered around, avoiding my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts by drowning them in alcohol or high. But I think that at that age, I blew it off because I was young. I got plenty of time. Don't worry about that. I'm gonna have fun. I dove down into my addiction. I didn't come up for a good 4 or 5 years. And a lot of that time's just a blur. Not remember it. Because I was so inebriated. That's scary.
Yeah.
Being able to basically remember the whole portion of life.
Right. Right. So you're so, drinking so much, so inebriated, you're basically losing time. Right. Yeah. And you said you lost your apartment. So were you living outside at this point, couch surfing?
I really didn't have too many quote unquote friends at that time. So I wasn't gonna go to my adoptive parents' house. That just wasn't an option. So went up on the street in shelters, and that's when my criminal history really started to snowball. I found myself in trouble with the law again, and numerous times. Through my teens, my 20s, that's basically what all my life was. In and out of jail, being inebriated, wasted.
Mm-hmm. Drinking in jail.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was.
Mm-hmm. When you look back at it now, Walter, does that feel? I mean, like, let me back up my question. What I was thinking was, it seems like the things that would help really needed to help you as a child. But right. So like,
Yes.
so my question was going to be, does it feel like it was kind of a natural extension or progression of, what you'd been going through, in your childhood up until then, given that you didn't have the kind of help that you needed as a kiddo? Is that?
I understand. I hear what you're saying. And yes, I guess it was, and as you put it, evolutionary process. Had to go through all these things, and go through these struggles, just like all of us do,
Mhm.
In order to better myself.
Mhm.
Forge steel, you forge it in fire. Like hot, shape, hold it, which you want. So, in a roundabout way, that's what life has done with me. Forged me in the fire. It made me, making me a stronger person. Right about the time I was in the halfway house, I met my first wife.
And about how old were you at this point?
I would have been probably around 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah, 22. And so it's in the halfway house. I met her on the RTD bus. Gave her my phone number, didn't expect her to call. Days later, she called, we met. And the next thing I know, I'm married. Not even 30 days after meeting this young lady. Ah, yeah. Don't do that. Don't ever, 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 ever do
I've been there, Walter. That's why I laughed, laughing with.
Thinking I knew it all. Married this young lady. Well, she was actually older than me. Got married, and all of a sudden had a chia pet family with 3 girls and a boy. Calm down. Thank you. Let's see. Now, my oldest daughter, she was born. Oldest daughter. Now, when my oldest daughter was born, this was during that time when I was in and out of jails. And, first time I met my daughter was in the visiting room at the Denver County Jail. I was dating a different woman at the time, and I got a visit slip, so I thought it might have been one of my girlfriends. Walked in the visiting room, and I see my daughter's mother standing on the other side of the visiting room, and she's just standing there like this, and the look she has on her face. Yeah, this is yours. Come get it. So I went and sat down, and first time I held my daughter was in the visiting room at the Denver County Jail on Smith Road. Well, I've had a lot of instances like that. We all have. Those moments in life that are supposed to slap you and wake you up. Oh, dummy, get a grip. I had a lot of those moments.
Did any of them?
Sometimes I don't.
Sometimes they sparked something, and sometimes not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However, that time it set a wildfire under my butt.
Mm.
Got out of jail and got myself a job and wife, or stepchildren, and my own daughter. Wound up opening my own janitorial cleaning service. Operated and ran that with my ex-wife for just 5-6 years. We lost a couple of our business accounts. So me being the jack of all trades on the streets, I decided it was a smart idea to, hey, let's go sell some drugs to make up some money.
Mm. Mm.
Let's just say that didn't fare very well. Wound up getting caught, getting charged, got to jail, and in the long run, at the end of the day, my wife wound up leaving. Got a divorce. I can't downplay. I played my part. I did. So through all of this, I asked myself, was I just born on an unlucky day?
What'd you say?
Was I born on an unlucky day or what?
Is that how you were feeling?
Yeah, that's really how I was feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm. I totally relate to that. I don't know if you do too, Nobly, but I've many times felt like I've said I was cursed.
Same.
Same.
Definitely, yeah.
Interesting. So great. So you felt very unlucky, felt from the get-go. And you had this cycle happening with being in and out of jail. How long did that go on? Do you know where that changed? Did it continue to escalate?
Oh,
First?
did it ever? So after the divorce, after moving out, selling off our assets, selling the company, and basically signing everything off over to my ex-wife, I dove down deeper into the rabbit hole because that was such a good idea. Started using crack cocaine extremely heavily, drinking, and once again, I lost myself. I lost myself to my demons and my addiction, and that was another good 2.5, maybe 3 years of struggling through my addiction. All this during this whole time, living on the streets, part-time jobs here, part-time or temporary work here and there, to take care of my habit. I'll be around in my 30s at this time. Caught a number of cases for manufacturing, sales, distribution, yada 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 yada. Because that's what I was doing: take care of myself and take care of my habit. I was hustling every street corner I could to get my fix, take care of myself. So that's how life was for me for a while. Back streets, back alleys. Not a very enjoyable time.
I imagine not. I was just for a moment trying to imagine sense of safety, recognizing that there's nothing safe about living on the streets and being so deep into our addictions. I'm just curious if that factored in, or if, taking, honestly, with the substance use helped to kind of mask any of that.
At that point, I honestly I was trying to kill myself. I was done. I was tired. I don't want to do this thing anymore called life. I was chasing the devil, chasing the dragon, trying to catch up, hope him down. You know, I lost so much time, wasted so much time. But now I'm at a stage in my life where I finally don't feel like I really have to play the catch-up game anymore.
Amazing.
I'm satisfied. I'm happy with my life. Things could be better. Fortunately, right now, I'm getting ready to go through a custody battle, a custody case with my mom. Care for the woman a lot. I choke her free and kill a truck for her, but we just cannot be in the same room because we're too toxic. Just an extremely toxic relationship. So we don't want our daughters growing up like that. Being our fussing or fighting.
Yeah.
Screaming and yelling and getting physical with each other. They don't need to see that. Mm-hmm. So let's switch on Walter's plate.
Yeah.
Basically, that's really. Sorry, one moment.
That's okay.
That's what's really how to put it, consuming a lot of the mind, consuming a lot of the headspace.
You're right now, what's consuming is the custody battle over your two youngest
Yes
daughters. Totally understand that. And what kind of, are you getting support with that in any way now?
The last time we went to go do this, my daughter's mom, she did the paperwork, and so she said, "Well, this time it's your turn." And in all honesty, over the past month, I have just been depressed. I fell into that kind of depression where your environment or your apartment or your house starts to reflect your mental and emotional state. So yeah, it was pretty bad. Still kind of is. Went through and did a lot of cleaning today. I had a friend who came over and helped, so I was very appreciative of that. I'm very confident. I know deep down inside of my heart, my daughters love me. Nothing in this world can ever change. After this opinion of me, what she may say to them, or what she may whisper in their ear. So I had that. I could say I might have out of five fingers on my hand, I might have that many. 3 people. Right? I know I can count the fingers. And that's okay. I don't have to have that.
Are those 3 people solid, trustworthy? Are they there for you when you need emotional support, other kinds of support?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yes,
good.
Do you get to have visits with your girls?
I'm sorry.
Do you get to have visits with your girls?
It's been a little over going on 2 months now, and I'm their mother has my number just as much as I have hers. However, I'm blocked. Yada 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 yada. So right now I'm just gonna leave that on a not on a back burner, but just gonna sit over here and simmer for a minute so I can take care of me first.
Good.
If I don't take care of me, I ain't gonna be no damn use to my dog.
Yes. Good. Good. Is there, if you could get some support, additional support for taking care of, I mean, is there anything additional that would be really helpful for you now? Given the depression that you're dealing with, awesome that you had somebody come and, you know, help with the house. Here's mine.
Oh,
Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry to hear you're going through some pretty deep depression recently, and I'm wanting to just take the time here to check in to see what kind of support might be helpful for you now.
um, well, we can discuss that later.
Okay, that's fair enough. Honestly, let's do. I would like to follow up with you on that if you'd like to talk about that some more. So
Oh.
Go ahead.
Talk about what now?
Well, I'm curious about the shift, because you've talked about, you know, you've learned some things recently. There was a change for you, where you started feeling better about yourself. You made a decision to and did the work to get sober, to be in recovery from addictions. By the way, both Nobly and I are as well. So you're in good company.
Have you ever been to Wellbriety at all, Walt?
Yes, I have.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, that's very helpful to me to be able to do that in my recovery. So I'm glad to hear that you've gone and that you go. Do you currently go?
There's a Wellbriety meeting on Tuesdays at Four Winds with Doug Goodfeather.
Awesome.
If I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
A daily Wellbriety meeting at noon. It's here on Zoom. I can push the information to you later if you'd like.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So what was it that made you make some changes in your life?
Being tired of being tired. Being tired of being tired.
You shared part of what you shared, Walter, was you know, this, you said, well, frankly, I was trying to kill myself when you were using so heavily crack cocaine and alcohol. And we've had a similar conversation here. I saw your face, Nobly, or yep. And you know, somewhere along the way, there's a shift to wanting something different. And you're saying tired of being tired.
Yeah.
Was there, did you know where to go to get help you needed at that point in time?
Yeah. See, I mean, you know, I got there's the Wellbriety, the NA, and the AA. those are good programs.
Mm-hmm.
Just gotta start in here.
Mm.
I spend a lot of my time, promising to quit for this, that, or the other reason, for this person, my daughters, or this or that. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. I didn't want to. I didn't want to die in a back alley, or have somebody find me dead in my apartment, Or have my daughters growing up knowing that their dad died of a drug overdose. Fuck that. No. I'm gonna do it. So that's what that's. And really kind of a. I don't know. One time, my daughter's mom, she told me, she said, I stopped crying for you because I've planned your burial in my head too many times. And I had to really sit there and think about it. It's a jacked up. It's got to be a real jacked up feeling. Even when hearing that, I didn't pay attention to the signs. When you don't pay attention to signs, you don't take care of what you're supposed to. Things will be stripped and taken away from you. Lose things. This thing is, and I hear it time and time again. I've heard it throughout my whole life. Learn from your mistakes, folks. Can't say I always do that. So when it comes to my survival and surviving, am I a survivor? I think each and every one of us are. Every day we wake up. Every day we get blessed. God bless. Every day is a new beginning. It's a chapter. So doing my best to go forward in life and seeing it that way, that every day is a new beginning. Do my best not to drag the skulls of my past into my present. To understand my meaning.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at today.
Mm.
Being appreciative of what I have. That was not much I had. One thing, my life. The activism we did at Fort Wayne Center, over on the action that we took over there, standing up with all of the Native community, a small group of us, taking that stand and standing up and saying, we are not being represented here, and we're being forgotten. People are dying out here on the streets, and nobody's paying attention. To this day, right now, as you and I speak, that CPC Native Inclusive Camp is still up and running, still accepting Native, still helping. We did that small group of people at Four Winds. We did. We made the city listen to us, pay attention to us. And I can see that they changed some of their policies. So how they're going about their sweeps now, how they conduct, how they do it.
How the cities going through their sweeps, yeah.
It's different. It's not like what it was.
Right. Right. Because in what's different now is that they're offering housing when they're sweeping. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And before they were just basically saying, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So done a couple things in my life, but have helped other people. I feel we have to do that in life, to think outside of ourselves. It's how can we so self-consuming with myself? Even though that is important sometimes. Being able to look outside, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Have that compassion for people, understanding. Okay, well, I might be here on this journey. You might be on that same path, that same journey. You might be a little bit ahead of me, but we're still on that same path, still doing the same thing. And my mom's sister, she said, don't be confused about these things. She said, it's really easy. Particularly when it comes to spirituality and religion, she said, well, look out, mountain. Yeah. How many roads you think go up that mountain? How many roads you think go up to the top of that lookout mountains? I don't know. Well, let's say there were 10. 10 roads to get to the top of that mountain. Imagine there are 10 people climbing to the top of that mountain, each and every one of those roads. Now I want you to name those roads. Name this one Christianity. I want you to name this one Catholicism, Buddhism, all these different religions. So name them. I did. She drew a line to the top of the mountain. A piece of paper. She said, each and every one of those paths, where are they going? They're going to the top. They're going to the top of that mountain. Yes, you're all on the same mountain. Stop fighting and bickering. It's just slowing you down from getting to the top of the mountain. You know, and take a look at the world and things going on, in Israel and Palestine, and who's right, who's wrong. That means you're on the same flipping mountain. Stop it. So that's just how I see things. I try to see things. Not perfect. I've been many things in my life. Felon, burglar, drug dealer, and this, a lot of things I'm not proud of. It's not proud of. In life, I think we all have. We've all done things, or to keep the cause sweep under the rug. Sure. Try to put that right. I try to put that on my mind. It's always going to be there. So not run around.
But you forgot a couple of things.
Okay.
Survivor, advocate. You've been through so much, and yes, you have a past and I have a past too, but you got to think moving forward, you're on the red road and you're doing amazing things. You advocate for your people, and it sounds like you're getting into your culture and you're being a dad, and I just don't want to lose sight of all the good things that I'm hearing. Yeah. Also mixed in with the hard times, and I'm not downplaying those. Those were very, very hard, but I see some strength and just survivor and a warrior, actually, is what I see in here.
And I want to thank you for that, because I tend to focus. It's really easy for me to focus on the negative aspects, particularly when that is all that has been pointed out to me over the past 7, 8 years through a toxic relationship. So it's really easy for me to focus on the negative because that's what I was fed, the negative about myself, all that. So thank you, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just going to pile on a little bit, because it struck me too that even as a child, you were standing up and caring for others, for your sisters, for your parents. You went to, for your adoptive parents, you went to important lengths there, even when you were suffering and maybe not even having, all of the, information to understand what you're going through. So that's really amazing. Then the other thing is I'm listening to Walterlee describe what she heard and saw in you. And I'm like, yep, and I remember meeting you at Four Winds, or just outside Four Winds, and walking the neighborhood and flyering the neighborhood about that incoming safe outdoor space. And you were full of energy and mission, and like you knew, like just you were ready to do what needed to be done for the better of all the people that you cared about. And it was really it was really beautiful. And yeah, I was like, I'll just follow him wherever. So yeah. Yeah. So I hope for you that you will keep reminding yourself of those things, and also to listen for more people to continue to remind you of that as well.
Indeed. Definitely.
I wanted to ask, I have another just kind of wrap up question for all of us, but before we go there, and you may not be able to sum it up all now, but you have been, it's quite a road you've traveled, and I am sure you have learned many things. I'm curious if something stands out in your mind that you learned that was really important to you. And maybe if it's something, especially something that you would want other people to know and to understand, what that might be.
That in that moment of frustration, desperation, anger, fear, whatever it may be that's consuming or taking over you, stop, 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 stop. Just stop. You don't have to do anything right there and then. You have to take care of it right there and then. If you need to, put it on a side burner. Not a back burner, but a side burner. Just let it simmer for some time. Think about it and pray on it. And then take action. Give yourself time.
Yeah, I think we'd all be better off for doing that. Thank you. The other observation that I want to, a takeaway that I have, and please tell me, either of you, if you think I'm I'm off at all, but I am just really struck by how um how much the right kind of support in services and that could have been there for you as a child could have made an incredible difference in your life. I also think that there are things, that are important for us as adults. I mean, I people are always talking about we need, services for the children, or we need to do better for the children, and we do. And we need also as an adult, we need to care for each other. I'm just so struck by how had folks gotten things right for you early on, how you could have avoided some of the struggles that you've had in your life.
Well, I have to say yes and no to that, because yes, had the support been in place and had I had that, would it have helped? Yeah, would have. Would I go back and change anything in my life? No, because I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, Walter, is there anything else you want to share with us before we kind of move into wrapping up? I'm really grateful for you opening up and sharing with us the way that you have, and just want to make sure that you have an opportunity to make sure that you've said what is important to you to say.
Generous, be patient, and be kind to yourself. And doing that, it'll spread out to everybody else. Patient, kind, and loving to yourself.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, in kind of moving us to wrap up, this is we've invited you here to get really vulnerable and share your story really in depth. And Nobley and I have been doing the same about our stories. Other people have come on. Quika has come on and shared her story. Others have as well. And I was wondering if we could, the three of us, just take a pause before we move into closing to just reflect on what it's like to do that in this space, in this time, in just where we are now. Nobley, do you have thoughts about that?
Well, for me personally, I've kind of told my story a lot now, but I just remember feeling, scared and very vulnerable. But then I just kept thinking about how there's so many people out there that need to hear need to have the similarities. I felt so alone all through my youth. I started doing meth at 12 years old, and I didn't feel like I had anybody. There was no internet. There was no, and if my story can get to even one person and, make a difference. And it's also healing for me to tell it and get it out and work through it, because we don't want it to sit here. We don't want it to rent space. We don't have a lot of vacancies going on. And so it feels really good. And I feel like that I'm helping somebody potentially. And there's a lot to our stories. There's so many different components and so many different things that we've survived and that we've gone through. And I do think the process of people surviving is this coming together and telling our stories and getting it out there and letting especially the youth know that, for one, they're not alone, and for two, there's hope. I mean, we were down in the depths of hell in our addiction, in our life, in our criminality, like all of it. But on the other side of that, we're advocating for other people. We're on the red road of sobriety. We're spreading hope. Like, I call myself a hope dealer. That's what you're doing too, Walter. You're walking the streets and you're spreading hope. And like you said, the love and the patience and the kindness, not only to ourselves, but to everybody, like our whole tribe. You know what I mean? So that's personally why I do it. And that's why I think OnSurviving is important too, because we're talking about some heavy things, but these are heavy things that need to be dealt with and not swept under, because people are going to have a lot of traumas in their life. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I so appreciate that. I'm actually really glad you responded first, nobly, because I sometimes get twisted up about sharing my story, right? I get so, it's like, on some days I'm so like what you just shared. I'm clear that I want people to not feel alone, because I felt so alone, and especially as a kid, and not having good guidance there, and frankly wanting to disappear. I'd say my first drink was 3/4 of a bottle of Jack Daniels, of a fifth. That was my first drink. Just pounded that. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Rough. But at any rate, but I did that because I was so, so torn up, and so I couldn't handle what I was feeling, and I couldn't face my surroundings. Now, that said, I'm getting off track. Back to sharing what it's like to share my story is, I think I have a lot of anxiety because I spent the better part of 50 years trying to hide my story, to appear whatever people consider to be normal. And I think the real blessing for me personally, for the selfish part of this, it's not even selfish, but is that that every time I share my story, somebody reflects their story back. They share it too, and I'm like, oh, you too. I mean, your own version. We all have our own versions of the stories, but so many of us are carrying a lot of burden, and have been through a great deal. And even if I don't hear it reflected back, I just know out there that there are people who aren't in a place where they can speak up and aren't able to share. And if we're touching a heart and helping the people to feel less alone, then that is good. My my worst side, of course, is that I get upset and angry at people who are judgmental, or just all of that, and then I get kind of spun out in my head. So thank you, as always, Nobly, for helping me to recenter, at why we do this, which is, yeah, it's helpful for us, but most importantly, it's helpful for others out there who haven't come through it like we have. And so, shoot, had somebody told me when I was kneeling in my backyard and feeling like there was no hope of change in my life, that, yeah, had somebody, shared their story honestly and actually shown me a light, that there was real actual hope that it could change. Yeah. So we hope to do that for others.
Also, growing up on a reservation, you're just taught not to talk. You don't tell your story. Everything stays inside the home.
Mhm.
And so that's another reason I tell my story, because I want the native girls and guys too to know that it's okay, to share it
Mhm.
when you're ready to and when you want to, because there's a lot of healing in it. And that's why I love the talking circle meetings, because it's a very sacred, safe spot where you can talk about those things. And so that's another reason why I'm really passionate about telling my story and hoping to touch somebody and let them know that it's okay, that they're not their story. That is not who they are, and it's not their fault. Because I suffered in silence for my entire childhood. And like you said, had somebody told me and spread some hope to me, I don't know, I think things could have looked different.
Thank you. Walter, I imagine you've shared your story before, certainly in the recovery programs. We all share bits of it in those programs, but I'm curious in this forum, like how that was for you and why you decided to do it.
I think it was a little easier because I wasn't physically in front of people. um, as far as what it was like, I think each time it gets a little easier. Um, I notice it changes every time. Sometimes, sometimes I leave stuff out. Sometimes I insert more stuff. It just depends on the audience and what I'm going through at the present moment. So I think doing it this way was liberating. I like. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. And why you chose to do it?
Silly button. Um, well, I mean, I'm hoping that said that someone will see this and will watch this, say, well, hell, this guy can pull it off, and go through all this. I ain't getting half of that crap. Shit, I know I can do it. So there's someone out there whose story isn't as bad as mine, or may even be worse than mine, but it's my genuine hope that it'll inspire someone to strive for better for themselves, their loved ones,
Mhm.
the
Right.
world as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even though you're struggling with a particular thing right now, overall, you're feeling good about yourself, about life generally. I mean, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I heard that yeah. 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 And doing amazing things out there in the community. And I want to thank you for that too. It's we need more people doing the kinds of work in the community like you are doing. And like I said, I'm loving to see your beadwork, and thank you for sharing that too. So yeah. So with that, we will go ahead and bring this to a close. Again, if you are, I would love it if we could share even some up close pictures of even just the beads around your neck. If we can share that with folks, we'd love to do that. Snap a picture afterward and text it to me. That'd be great. And yeah, so let's go ahead and move to close. Nobly, am I missing anything, or should I just go straight into the announcement?
Well, I just definitely wanted to thank you, Walter, so much for coming on and being vulnerable and telling your story. It's very amazing, everything that you've been through. So I thank you. And then we're going to have a quick announcement, and then we're going to close out with our two favorite things, which is laughter and water. So
wonderful. Okay. So quick, the quick announcement is our November discussion is actually going to be, we're going to actually do that in the first week of December, because we were planning to take a break December. So we're kind of straddling November, December, combining them into one, and we'll have our conversation that first Wednesday of December. And I'm very excited that we will be joined by Richard Dilworth, who is an incredible community member in Durango, Colorado. He is one of the most generous people I have met, generous with his spirit. He always shows up for others that he sees, he discovers in need. And I mean, he's, taking people to, giving people rides if they need somewhere, just sitting down and giving somebody an ear. He's got a big heart, and yeah, does incredible things. So I am really convinced that if we all gave just a tiny, tiny fraction of what he does in support of others, we would live in a world with much less suffering. So really just we're expecting to have a really inspirational conversation at a perfect time of year for doing that. So please do join us then. Let's go ahead and go right to my favorite. I don't know, every part of it is my favorite, but I love to laugh. So Nobly, what do you have for us?
Well, I don't know, but it's what I have. So what is a lawyer's favorite drink?
A lawyer's favorite drink? I don't know.
A subpoena colada. I know.
Sipping on the pina colada. Yeah.
Hey, we're laughing, so it's okay.
This is exactly the point.
Preach.
Oh, I love you, my friend.
Love you too.
With that, cheers to you. Cheers, everyone. And
Walter, thank you.
Everyone have a great night.
See you in December. Bye.